Welcome to the One Within All, to the InnerVerse podcast with a couple guests not on the ball and unafraid of nuclear blasts. She's an eloquent intellect named Tamara Sheville. Many lies she dissects from a perspective that's level. And 8 lines into that, I'm tapping out. But we had to get a little poetic there because I've just read the book Hacking Hoaxes, Nuclear Weapons, Truth Bomb, and Explosion of Lies by our new friend here, Tamara. And despite being some intensely complex subject matter, she's managed to write the whole thing in rhyming verse without sacrificing the academic rigor needed to find the devil in those details on these sorts of psyopy subjects. As somebody who's had some expanded consciousness experiences myself, it is my opinion that her linguistic skill set, coupled with such profound radiation of loving kindness, demonstrates that Tamara is some kind of semi-ascended enlightenment coach here to help us jailbreak from the fear imposed through mass deceptions like nuclear bombs. And I think our bonus guest today would probably agree with everything I just assessed there. We've got Brandon Thomas in the house, the newly minted co-captain of the best podcast on Earth, Mysterious Universe. I'm fully caught up on all of his backlog of episodes since he started this year, except for today's brand new one. Loving everything you're doing, man. And that's also where I first heard about Tamara's awesome Nuke hoax expose. And as synchronicity would have it, I was in an email exchange with Tamara the very same day I had a first new friend phone call with Brandon. And it seems she told him about the invite that I gave her to InnerVerse and asked him to join us, not knowing that I was connecting with him for the first time that very day. It's pretty wild the kind of psychic hijinks we get up to when we're floating down that lazy river of perpetual synchronicity together, sipping the sweet non-alcoholic nectar of truth. And today we're going to lay down the first and last refutation of supercritical nuclear chain reaction explosives you'll ever need. But do yourself a favor, pick up Tamara's book. It's a phenomenal piece of work. You can find a link to the show notes. And there's even a coupon code that she'll share with the audience for anybody that wants to take purchases off her website. This book takes what has been intentionally made confusing and convoluted and breaks it down to its simple, silly core. And I cannot wait to get into this with you guys. It is going to be super fun. I absolutely loved it. And I wanted to do an episode like this for ages, but was just waiting for the right pair of angels to land on my shoulders. Well, folks, here they are, the magnanimous maestro of the new mysterious universe, Brandon Thomas, and his dear friend, the one-woman bunker buster of debunking boogeyman bombs, Tamara Sheville. Wow. Thank you so much for joining me, y'all, and welcome to the InnerVerse.
That was the best introduction. That was incredible.
That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. Chance, holy shit, dude. I've never felt more welcomed and wow.
So eloquent. Many little hidden references. That was awesome. The radiation, the core.
All right, yes, we're done here. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, we're wrapped up, guys. Let's go home. Great job. Holy shit, this is awesome. Thank you, brother. We're grateful to be here.
Brandon, I want to kick it to you first. I'd like you to also introduce Tamara because you guys have been friends for a while, and then we'll let her talk about herself as much as she wants to. But I know that you got a lot of love for this sweet lady, and I can't wait to get into it.
Oh, in the public and private. And we work in a trustee group as well that's doing a lot of great work. And she has been foundational in my confidence to move through that confidently and to really discover probably one of the most important things foundationally here that I've ever been able to understand. And now we get to walk each other through this. And it's amazing to co-create through that world with this young angel as well, because yes, that's exactly how I picture her. We met 2023. Something like that. Had you on the show, just fell in love immediately. She's just a dear friend, a kind soul. And it was really one of those things, sort of like meeting you, brother. It's not a nice to meet you. It's a good to see you again. And that's how it really feels because it's an instant connect. It's immediately seamless and instantly yes and to everything. What I was working on, she was also empowered by. What she was empowered by, I was empowered by. So again, and then now we formed a really cool group with a few others and it's attracted a wonderful group of little community here that we're working with. So along that process, though, I had my thing going on. Tam also has amazing things going on. She's written several books in lyrical rhyme form about the possibilities of this realm maybe not being a little ball floating in space, running around in satanic increments and sizes. Maybe it's something different. And questioning that narrative to a fascinating degree. Not only did she take on an incredible topic, she chose to rhyme it as well. So again, her moxie, just like yours, your ability to take something and really put soul into it rather than just deliver it coldly. And it's just a warmth about her that can't be denied. And you guys will know this as you get to speak to her. She's a beam of sunshine. She's definitely a Pisces, and all the characteristics of it in the best way possible, because it's just so much fun talking to her. And even in our private meeting,
my wife watches from backstage, and she was like, "I'm dying to know their astrology," and then you immediately you're like, "She's Pisces." So
yeah,
nice
Pisces,
job.
Virgo, by the way. So there you go. Virgo, Leo rising, and a Libra moon for me.
Bro, Leo rising, also Libra moon, also.
Really? And our mentor Joe, Libra moon. Like, there's this interesting and balanced harmony. That's what Libra's all about, essentially, one of the elements. But man, how cool. So yes, I could talk about this lady all day, brother. How she's affected my life personally and professionally. But either way, we did decide to gratefully cover her on Mysterious Universe. Holy shit, see what I did there? On Mysterious Universe and Nuclear Weapons Truth Bomb. We called it a new clear perspective and broke the word up and hyphenated it to be something that's really just what Tam offered, was a new clear perspective about this obvious psyop. And it's an obvious psyop in so many ways. And rather fuckery is always afoot, but this one is, I feel, more of a mind virus, sort of like the other mind viruses that have been inceptioned into the realm for you to either take on or to ask questions about. And even if you take them on for a little bit, that's okay. If you eventually come to the questioning bit of it, there are some fascinating new revelations and insights to come to. And Tam offered one of the most incredible breakdowns and one of the most challenging psyops ever. And it's just fascinating to take nuclear fusion and then her compare it to fruit, and then be, as Joe called it, retarded crayon box third grader, simple to understand. And you can just get this. And it's amazing, again, the way it's articulated. But yeah, it's looking more and more like a psyop, and more and more like a pretty effective hoax, if we're honest. And nobody can blame the folks of the time for being fearful with the information they had. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have the capability to dissect these things as we can now. But we can now, and we can move beyond that. And that's one of the best things about this, is the removal of fear. That's the whole deal, guys. It's just remove the fear, and then what's left? Oh, a life you get to tend your garden and live with your family and do whatever you want. Because there's a lot of cool shit going on here too. I think that's enough, right? I mean, I can go off, because there's so much to talk about on this. Tam's so wonderful. You're so wonderful, Chance, and I really appreciate you. And yes, guys, if you want to check out Mysterious Universe, come check it out. Joe Hodgson and I gratefully took that thing over from Ben and Aaron, the legends, man, the absolute champions that built that thing and raised it and nurtured it for 19 years. And we're just grateful to continue the legacy and do it our way. But thank you guys for checking out mysteriousuniverse.org. And Chance, let's get to this, man. This is
I'll just say too, as someone that listened to MU for 12 or 14 years, I was really reluctant for them to switch hosts. I was like, there's no way I'm going to like this. And I was trying to be open-minded about it. And then I was like, wait, I know these guys. These guys are awesome. They're like more in the line of thinking than I am, than Ben and Aaron were, and they're still hilarious. A lot of new new ground to cover. Guys are referencing friends of mine all the time, bringing light to people whose work maybe has been under the algorithm curse for too long, and that audience is probably primed and ready for some, Project Bluebeam episode I was just listening to. That was dope, dude.
It was so much fun.
So, but Tamara, let's talk about, let's just start right into it. And I want to ask you a question. I think that nukes have been said to be a deterrent to war, but with the Iran situation that we just witnessed and many others, I think it's obvious that they're actually an excuse for war, not a deterrent to war.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So just introduce why this topic mattered to you, and bring us into your thinking for why you would write this book and write it in verse.
First, I do want to say thank you, Chance, for having me on. This is incredible. And like Brandon said, it's nice to get to see you again, because basically I feel like we became friends over email. Your wife, Brandon's wife, the synchronicity is incredible. The artistic for both of them, and then also the astrology part of it, and it's just so cool. And so just this whole group is just what a fun dynamic that this is. This is great. So thank you. And thank you, Brandon. Oh my gosh, my trusty bestie. He is just one of my closest friends. And when we talk almost every day. So I appreciate that you're here supporting me and being with me and doing the show on Mysterious Universe, getting this all rolling. So
Absolutely. And Tan's adorable because she's taking drum lessons. She's actually gotten really, really badass. And so every Wednesday, she'll send me a message on WhatsApp, and she messages me these beautiful messages about the song she's learning. And, we went from paradiddles on a pad to now she's doing freaking Nilpart and Rush, dude. And I'm like, oh my God. And we got her a little symbol for her car when she, rides around in her automobile, right? And she has a little symbol she can air drum to. So it's really interesting. She's just so multidimensional.
And that was from Brandon and Mary. Yeah, that was awesome. But
uses a snare drum rattle as a freaking choker, dude. It's awesome. Like, the style doesn't end. It's just so funny. And she's just such a kid. It's
I should have
great.
worn that. Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no limits. You know what I mean?
It's awesome.
It's just hilarious. But yes.
We're just having fun. Yep, this is great. And it's funny because it started. You asked how I got into this, but my background is I started volunteering in the fire department. We had to take hazardous materials and awareness class, and everyone hated it. Wasted a whole day, and it was like, oh, I loved it. So there was a hazmat operation. So I'm like, let me take that. So I took that. That was 2 weekends, and then I started taking classes at the National Fire Academy. And I was obsessed with hazardous materials. There was something about it, the danger, the excitement. Everyone's running away from it, and I'm like, let's go, let's do this. So that was the start of it. And then I got a job on the Nunn-Ludiger Dominici Act back in, oh my gosh, a long time ago. They were going to train the 120 most populated cities in the country. And they did tabletop chemical and biological warfare exercises. Then we did full-scale functional exercises. We did biological agent drills. We did big New York City full functional exercises where they brought out all the units, everything. So I have some background in that. I ended up being, I was appointed to the National Fire Protection Association, the NFPA Hazmat Committee, and I got to help write codes and standards for response to terrorism incidents, chem, bio, radiological, nuclear. And I got a job at the Department of Justice, and they created the position for me. I was the curriculum coordinator for all the terrorism training for the emergency responders for the entire country: fire, law enforcement, EMS, hazmat, public works, public health. So that was my baby. I was responsible for the quality. And because I came from that background, boots on the ground, I wanted it to be stellar. I wanted it to be perfect. I didn't want, my husband has a military background. He's retired Special Forces. So he was Army Ranger, he was Green Beret, and we had a different philosophy. So that was was really fun about response and stuff. So I was thrust into a world of military, the super secret guys, that world. So there was a lot of training, a lot of experience, a lot of hands-on. We did live agent, chemical warfare agent training at Fort McClellan, Center for Domestic Preparedness, and we use live agent, sarin nerve agent. And the whole thing about what I'm learning about all of this, the point is everything that I heard, that it was so scary. I don't know if you remember the Tokyo bombing or the Tokyo sarin nerve agent attack and the train stations back in, I think it was like 95, Aum Shinrikyo, and they had rival doomsday cults going at each other. And it was a liquid, sarin. You hear sarin nerve gas. It's not a gas. It's a liquid. They popped this plastic thing with the umbrella. They got it on the train. Anyone who touched the liquid were the ones who died. I think it was only like 7 people who died, but you had thousands of people, the psychosomatic, running to the hospitals. Oh, so scary. So it's that fear, the false evidence appearing real, the fear. And so that one, when we actually went in the live agent chambers and we're taking swabs, the sarin nerve agent, the liquid was non-persistent. We'd take a swab, we'd test it, we'd use the M8, M9, 256 kits. We tested it, it was legit. And then 15 minutes later, you'd test the same area and it was gone, non-persistent. That's it. So all this fear about, that was one thing. And then the biological warfare agents that was a Dugway. So that was one of my classes. It was week-long classes. The emergency responders would go, and for the whole week, it'd be classroom and hands-on functional exercises. So that's my background. I got a I ended up meeting my husband at the Nevada test site. So his background, he, besides the military, when he retired, then he started working at the Nevada test site. So the hardest thing when there was do you know David Weiss?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I do.
He had said something about
He's a
nukes.
freaking party animal.
In Acapulco, were you guys down there? He said something about nukes are fake. And this is my life, my world. This is my everything. This is my id. This is what my whole existence was on chem-bio-nuclear terrorism. See, that's my sense of humor with that's a level A hazmat suit. And I'm in my living room reading the comics.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those, man. I've only got the PDF, so that's much. I like the analog screen share better than the digital screen share.
We got you. And here's her leading the team, too. Look at her.
That was in Hawaii. That was a test. Yeah, we did the 120 cities and did we did 3 exercises.
And this is the big thing. If you're talking about false evidence appearing real, you've got folks, she had no idea that this was bullshit or was not legitimately what they were claiming that it was. She led all of these seminars and training sessions to the nth degree to make sure that everything was set up properly, that everybody was ready. And you can imagine this walking down 120 different city streets, what that does to the mind of the people. They look around, they see this, they see tests being done. Obviously, the military wouldn't waste their tax dollars to do some pageantry that had no meaning behind it, right? Well, it does have meaning behind it. Look at the psychological implications of something like this. You see a bunch of folks, and she does an incredible job in the work too. You have a bunch of folks in these outfits showing up like fucking ET. Then, I mean, yeah, it's going to create a sense of a mindset, a psychology. And so again, guys, the book right there, I'm sure it's going to be linked. I highly recommend. Look at all my tabs. Like I've gone through this thing like, and it's just. Again, so the psychology of what Tam was a part of, again, unknowingly, and this is the other thing, you can't just point blind rage at one of the members of these organizations because they don't fucking know, man. If you look at
you're demonstrating how everybody doesn't have to be in on it.
Right.
Like nukes can be fake, and everybody in the establishment, except maybe a few people, are fully unaware of that fact, and the whole machine operates just as if it was real. I think that's a easier to swallow example with the hazmat teams and the military thinking that this stuff is real versus something like, well, NASA. You can't even go up there past the firmament, and there's all these people that work for NASA, and they think that they're doing something, but what are they really doing? They're like playing around on a computer with numbers on a screen.
Right.
Most of them are not getting in the rocket, and it's all working on compartmentalization, which is what the entire corporate structure of Demon Corp works on.
This tentacle, the octopus, would work no differently. You would have all the folks out there that are passing out the gas masks, that know the protocol, that know that you got to hop in the shower, that these things will do this. And who's out there, again, taking a hammer to the bomb when they walk by it to test if it's real or not? You just kind of take their word on it. The gas thing as well. You just, oh, no, I mean, I'm not going to touch it because I was told not to. It's the difference between your mom telling you that pan's hot and you trusting her and just going, okay, I just want to touch it, or reaching over and touching it yourself. There are certain pans maybe that have been so built up to be this scary thing that you wouldn't dare question it. But I like Tam's bold, well, I'll touch that thing. Let's see how hot it is. And you know what it is?
But I felt like I was protected. So I was like, yeah, I felt invincible in that circumstances. So that's another, psychological part of it. And one definition I loved, and this is a guy, John, from Nathan Oakley, 1980 on YouTube. And he said, belief is the acceptance without evidence. And I love that. I thought that was really
there
good.
you go.
Without evidence. That's huge. But when you were showing the pictures, I was on the Metropolitan Medical Strike Team, and it was the first civilian chemical-biological terrorism response team made up of doctors, nurses, fire, EMS, hazmat, law enforcement. So it was the best. It was a select group from Virginia, DC, and Maryland, all coming together. The training was extensive. And that's another thing with the military, using my favorite part was detection and monitoring equipment. And I loved all, and that was using the false positives to get those guys a hit for those exercises, so they could feel like, oh yeah, this is what it is. But I was, but you're saying, from the different things, I was a Department of Justice. It was the Office of State and Local Domestic Preparedness Support. And it was, everyone has to shorten it or whatever they called it, OSLADEPS. And then one of my friends, Slatopus, and they shorten it. They have silly names to it, but they shortened it to Office of Domestic Preparedness Support. This is before 9/11. So this is before it was part of the Homeland Security. It was his own thing. So it was, yeah, we're trying to do the right thing. And that's, you're trying to protect. I want all the responders to be safe in all these situations. So that was a big gut punch. So that was Dave Weiss, Catalyst Jones. Do you know White Rabbit podcast? He's got at the bottom of his podcast feed, he said nukes are hoax. And that was that with David Weiss and Crow 777. He's done, I believe, is the Enemy of Knowing. So he's done 4.5. There was an earlier one too, Jungle Surfer. He did earlier, but there are 4 main focused episodes on nukes being fake. And so when I started looking into it, then there was more Eric Dubay. I mean, there were so many people. Then I started looking into it, and then I started reading books. One of my favorite, oh my gosh, this guy's awesome. Thos Judge, and he's become a friend. He's just in the same
this book
thing,
for people just listening, it's called Oppenheimer's Deadly Toys.
Oops, yes. And it's by Thos Judge, Nuclear Weapons Hoax. And he breaks this down. That's how I was able to do this, because when I read his book and he broke everything down, then I could kind of put it in my own words and my own understanding of how to portray it differently. And the biggest thing is getting away from all the science and then the equations and the mathematics and all the physics, because they were all chemists when they were doing this. It was the military. They blow things up. That's what they do. Then my husband one of his things was hard and buried targets. Boom. He loved big bombs. They love things exploding. That's the silly boys. Well, not silly boy. That's the boy stuff. And one example is there's a guy, Sovereign Soul, Unchained Mind. He has a YouTube channel and he's hilarious. He's like an old, just no nonsense guy. And he throws out, I call them Sofisms. And he says, if you've got 2 pink flying unicorns plus 3 pink flying unicorns, you get 5 pink flying unicorns. So the maths, but that doesn't prove that they're flying pink unicorns. So I love that it's, he did another one, we just did daylight savings time. And he said, it's like taking the top half of a blanket and sewing it to the bottom half of a blanket. With the daylight saving, how stupid that is. And but he does so many things like that. And I laugh because it's just makes so much sense when he says it. And, so with all the equations and stuff, they can make the math say anything. You can make statistics prove anything. So I understand that is an aspect of it, but I went with what more the evidence that actually proved it to me. Like what would convince me? What convinced me that I could use to help other people understand how this. It not only won't work, it can't work. It completely is impossible. The way that there's no way. There's just it becomes silly. So anytime I hear something about like the nuclear wars, the nuclear football, the secret codes and stuff, I roll my eyes and I laugh. I mean, it's hilarious. It's like, this is so stupid this time.
This is the question. What is in that little briefcase he's carrying around? Like we made the joke that it's like Seinfeld when Kramer goes to work, but he doesn't really work there. And he's like, what's in the briefcase? He goes, crackers. Maybe there's snacks in there.
I think it's just a Hollywood thing where you're familiar with the MacGuffin in movies. It's like an object that the plot revolves around, but you never really understand what it is or how it works. It's the briefcase in Pulp Fiction is a MacGuffin, like Marcus Wallace or whatever his name is. He's after this briefcase and he opens it and he's like, oh, but you don't actually know what's in it. But the whole plot is revolving around this object and it's kept secret from you. And it's just a plot device. So yeah, the nuclear football is a plot device.
Yeah, that's true.
And I want to say too, how, I have heard a lot of the podcasts and sources of information you're talking about with nukes. That's what turned me onto this stuff too. But your book actually helped me cross the hurdle of understanding the science of what radiation actually is and what nuclear chain reactions really are, and differentiating between why that works for nuclear power plants and why it's totally safe and actually pretty awesome in nuclear power plants, and why it could not be used to make an explosion. And we'll discuss all that. But when you compare, so thank you for your book for that reason. It really helped make things click. And I've been aware that this wasn't real for a long time. But you compared the nukes narrative to the Great and Powerful Oz, which is hilarious. And it occurs to me that, as somebody that's done a lot of backwards looking towards the mystery school tradition, how the priestarchy has been, the occult ruling class for potentially thousands of years, or at least they've created a history where they've been in charge for thousands of years. Maybe there's a few thousand added in there that never actually happened. But for the entirety of human history before nukes, up until just relatively recent centuries, the idea that there was going to be an imminent destruction of the world, it was the priests saying, God is going to destroy the world with a flood or with a fire from heaven, unless you do as we say, because we're his intermediaries. But that story no longer works for a secular society that has replaced God with government. So they had to give government the supposed power to destroy the earth. But it's,
brilliant.
Whether or not you want to bring God into the question, but if you do want to bring God into the question, like, how could a created being created by an omnipotent creator destroy the creation of that omnipotent creator? It's the stupidest thing, just super stupid. And also, if they were real, you can bet somebody would have used them more than just that one time in World War II, just like the moon landing. If it was real, how come every time they say they're going back, then a few months later, they're like, we're not actually doing it. Just kidding. Yeah.
And there's a 100% success rate, and none of them accidentally going off, or some dickhead just setting one off in a tunnel as they're shooting on one of these high rail systems in one of these dumbs underground, one just going off. And maybe there has. But we don't hear about it. You don't hear about a nuke just accidentally being set off and how dangerous they are to possess. And that would further the narrative. Oh, look how dangerous they are. We can't have these wahoos having them. They mistake the off button for the go button. Oh my God, they mislabeled it. How silly. You can't be doing that with these.
And anything that only exists in your reality in Hollywood on movies or TV, you can just write that off, like space, nukes. These things, you've never actually seen this with your own eyes. You don't know anyone that has seen it with their own eyes, except you've seen it repeatedly on TV and on movies, so it feels real. It's been buried into your subconscious.
But isn't it amazing that it worked? The little boy worked the first time. It had never been tested. It worked the first time. And like our rockets, we made it to the moon on the first try. Russia had done everything with the monkey, the dog. They'd done everything and everything, but then we made it perfectly the first time.
You know why, Tam? Because America. Because America, that's why. Yeah. America.
That's awesome.
Let's talk about this, Tamara, because you helped me understand some stuff about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the time when it magically worked the first time, untested. That's usually when I say to somebody, nukes are fake and gay, and you shouldn't believe in them. They are like, yeah, but we'll tell that to all those people in Japan that got their faces melted.
We can. What's his name in Japan that survived the shit that we'll get to? He survived both of them, by the way. He went to work the next day and survived because the trains were running on time. And he was just fine after both of them. Iksu Yakamoto, what was his name? Tam? Itsuri Yakamoto.
Yakamoto, yeah.
Yeah. Tsutomu Yamaguchi. Yamaguchi.
That's what it was. Yeah, like Christy Yamaguchi.
Yamaguchi, alive and well, died in his 90s, lived a few kilometers from the blast sites. That he was a part of both people.
And he took a train.
Yeah.
He was there for the first one. He spent the night, I think, like he was in critical care he was injured and everything. And so he had a hard night. And then he was supposed to be at work back at his industrial job back in Nagasaki. And he took a working train from Hiroshima to Nagasaki, which means amazingly, the tracks weren't destroyed. The train was on, working on time. So he got to Nagasaki in time for the second one,
Those
supposedly.
Mitsubishi plants shit.
That Japanese work ethic is something
There you
else.
go. And but that also shows that the radiation, if he was exposed to so much of, all that stuff, then I just heard Owen Benjamin, and he did a thing on the 5G towers. And until I look into it, I'm with everyone else going, oh, 5G towers. And he said, I'm not afraid of 5G towers. He said, they only have a limited area, and it's like, it's taking with the jab compared, it could be bad for some people, but it doesn't. It's like my thought with the nuclear war when I grew up, they had all the movies. What was it? The Day After, Jason Robards, and it was like these college kids, and they were just their lives and how it was affected by an attack. And they were like, I think in Kansas or something, Lawrence, Kansas, I think. And it just went the whole thing. Nightmares. I couldn't sleep for days. It was like there's a 2-parter or something. It was just devastating. And it just, with you, Chance, I'm thinking about like the cymatics, right? With how energy affects the water. Right? Isn't that like they yell at water and then they freeze it and the crystals are spiky and stuff, and then I love you, and then they freeze the water and the crystals are soft, but I mean it like the energy, isn't that something, Chance? Don't you?
Yeah, cymatic patterns. Yeah.
But so I'm thinking is like on that level, we have horses, and the people are, they don't with crops, and they're like, we're trying to encourage them and everything. They can feel a fly, on their leg or their back, and they flicker. Their skin flicks, to get the fly off. They're so sensitive. And I'm thinking like, water and the energy and stuff is so sensitive. So if we're hearing this stuff and it's getting into our energy, so sorry about my, then it's, how devastating that is psychologically. You're saying about the PSYOP and everything. So it's upsetting what they're doing on so many levels. Because somebody had said on a show, they're like, yeah, but there's something big. There was a big bomb, and so there are big bombs. And it's like, understood, yes, there are big bombs. My husband, there are big bombs, and they love that. And they're like, it's like that, big booms. But what they sold us was this, this radiation half-life. You can't live there for thousands of years. You can't, the people with the skin. There's another book this guy is so nice. Dr. Michael Palmer, and I heard him on Crow's show. It's called Hiroshima Revisited. And it's the evidence that napalm and mustard gas, it's not a gas, helped fake the atomic bombings. It's a liquid. It's like a
mustard blistering agent. And
yes,
that's just another fear psyop is like, when I was a little kid, I had this irrational fear of invisible poisonous gas was going to kill me. I think it's because when the firefighters bring the pretend house to your school parking lot and then you had to crawl through it while they're pumping fake smoke machine into it. And then they tell you about like carbon monoxide poisoning and make sure your parents have the smoke detectors that tell you if there's poisonous gas, and I was terrified of that. I was so scared of that. It was like the only thing that really scared me as a kid, other than the one time I was like 5, and I was peeking from behind the couch while the adults were watching Jurassic Park, which, hey, another thing that's really quite debatable whether or not it's true, these silly little T-Rexes. But what I wanted to bring up, like why I took the talking stick, is that first we should definitely get into that exact thing that you just started to introduce about, because that's the ultimate answer that makes it all make sense is napalm and mustard blistering agent, not a gas. But you brought up Owen Benjamin though, and I wanted to tell this joke that he said the other day about the plane that carried the I don't remember if Enola Gay carried the fat man or the little boy, but there's Enola is alone backwards. So it's a lonely gay fat man and a little boy.
Isn't that gross?
Yeah, that's what I call the Enola faking gay. That's what the Nukes are.
Yeah. But isn't that gross? That's more pedo stuff. Little boy, a fat man, Enola Gay, and it's like, oh gosh. I mean, I never put those together.
That they're dropping out of the bottom of these things. It's just disgusting.
It's so really, it's like we laugh because it's trauma leaving our bodies, to laugh at it. Because
we gotta laugh at it. That's what takes the power away from it. And that's the whole point. I mean, it's like those folks that are saying that they're alcoholics, that they stopped drinking 30 years ago. Dude, the program's telling you to continue that narrative, but you can stop saying that. You haven't had a drink in 30 years. Stop calling yourself that. Oh, I'm an alcoholic. I'm Dave. I'm an alcoholic. No, you're not. You stopped that 30 years ago. You could stop that narrative. But that's the thing is it's like you got to get past, it's like you got to get to the integration part of it. Yes, once you surmise the fear, after the integration, it's fucking hilarious. And that's the point. You got to laugh at this shit. It deflates it instantly. It removes its fangs.
Hey guys, we'll get back to the show in just a minute. I wanted to remind you about biofield tuning with me, available through my website. Very easy to set up a session. Tuning is the process of me waving forks around in my living room and helping translate the messages your body might be sending. These messages might come in the form of chronic and persistent illness or injury. It might come in the form of external life events and patterns that may not even be seen as patterns, but are holding back the full expression of synchronicity and flow state for you. Tuning sessions start with us meeting and talking for a couple minutes, and then we'll get into about 45 minutes of playing the forks, connecting with your body, and you're going to feel a much more cohesive and conscious awareness of your body and the flow of energy through it. By the end, we're going to have resolved stuck energy in your biofield that you may not have even realized was there, but it'll all make sense by the time we get to the end. And I'll provide you with a customized herbal medicine recommendation that you can take to help integrate the changes that we made in this tuning session and remind you of the lessons, mindset shifts for as long as you want to keep taking that plan. So check out the website. It is InnerVersePodcast.com/sound-healing. Sign up for a tuning with me and let's get this on the calendar. And now back to the episode. I wanted to also, the other thing that left from my head, but I think is so important as we're discussing just how dissonant the world really is at this particular moment in time. What sparked my memory was when you brought up cymatics, and I heard my mentor, Eileen McCusick, the creator of the biofield tuning method. She was talking about cymatics in context to the world last night on my friend Topher's podcast, and she was like, when that plate that is vibrating at a certain frequency and making that beautiful mandalic geometric pattern, when you switch frequencies, there's a period of time where all of the pattern just dissolves into totally dissonant chaos until it reforms itself almost instantaneously into a geometric coherent structure again. And we in the world are seemingly in that in-between phase between pattern, dissolution, pattern. And what's cool when you think of it from that cymatics scale, right, is that that's like the reorganization into coherence is really fast. It's almost, it feels instantaneous.
Yes, that's a great point. Yeah, I've made that analogy before and I love that. That's absolutely the way to look at this because it's chaotic. Some of us, like, we feel like we're probably pretty close to where the pattern is going to be. I feel like those folks who are asking these kind of questions, you're kind of in the new pattern. Those are in the no man's land of they were formerly, yes, there, but now we're moving. We're somewhere else. It's like a marching band moving across the field. It all bounces together, but there can be just a smooth run to the next thing. You just follow your inner verse there and it'll lead you there for sure.
Yeah, but Tamara, I know you might want to comment on that stuff too, and please take the floor for as long as you can, but also in some direction towards, let's talk about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, not napalm, mustard gas, not nuclear bombs.
Okay, so what I did was I was trying to use what would be the best evidence. So I heard about, have you heard of Galen Windsor? He was the one who, he was a nuclear safety. He was
incredible.
Yeah. And he said that, I mean, when they first started, they were in their overalls. They didn't have gloves. They didn't have...
Remind the audience who he is and why we all remember his name as a champion of awesomeness.
So he started in the old nuclear facilities, like in the 50s and 60s, and they would work with the nuclear power plants, and he became the safety officer. And so he would, yeah, there he is. And the big thing about him that was different is that as the safety officer, that's the biggest point, is he would go swimming in those pools and the things. But he would, he toured 77 cities in 2 years. He would show the plutonium. He'd have little, there's the little pieces, metal. It's metal. Metal doesn't explode. I talked to my husband about, like, with bullets and stuff, that it's the lead doesn't explode. The lead doesn't, it can, whatever, but it doesn't, you need a gas formation for rapid I scared the cat. For an explosion. So he's showing that it was.
I've got friends that hold uranium rocks, and some of these people I know that hold uranium in their hands all the time, they're 10 years older than me and look 10 years younger than me.
Damn.
So it must be really hurting them.
So it would be also something to hide, right? This fountain of youth.
Right. And it's also hard
Well,
to...
it's free energy.
Uranium ore, the uranium ore that's only 0.7% is the uranium-235, which is what they need for these to get to the bombs and stuff. So it's like, it's not plentiful. There was a whole, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It was this I got from Fast Judge, but he said it was a declassified transcript of notes on the interim committee meeting. This was Thursday, May 31st, 1945, declassified. And they said they didn't have enough uranium. They actually said it in the medium. They didn't, in the meeting. They didn't have enough uranium. It would be like another year and a half till they could. It'd be another 3 years to get, a certain stage. And then it would be another 6 years for the other. And, oh my gosh, another thing Thasja said, he said that the other countries are leasing the weapons from the United States. They said it's like protection money, that it's like they're paying us to have these pretend things, to say that they're not developing it. They're not, it's like this. I just heard that recently. And it's like, are you kidding me? The whole thing is just imploding on itself. It's just such a mess that
That's
there's
an
just so
interesting
many
point, because
layers.
why would these other countries play along with the farce? And they want to be like, hey, look, we have the destroy everything kill button too, right? But if most of these countries knew that wasn't actually real, I think it would be more geopolitically savvy of them to expose it, so that the United States loses their fake big stick.
But then that all goes down, all crumbles, like Antarctica, like the moon, like all that stuff. It all goes away.
This is one of the things too. All those countries can agree, don't go down to Antarctica and nukes are real. But maybe you should go down to Antarctica and nukes are not a thing at all, or what they're saying at least. And really, it's a nuke of the mind. It's a fear weapon that works for any government that's got them. So it's very powerful over their people and with the neighboring. It's like a concealed weapon. You don't know if somebody's got a concealed weapon on them, but you just sort of assume that they do. Now they're just saying that they've got a huge freaking bazooka, like the Joker in Batman when he pulls out that huge gun at the end, right? In Batman, but it's not legit. There's no guns in it. It just has a bang flag on the end of it, and it might pop, but it's a dud as far as what they're saying it will do. And again, like Tam says, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were habitable immediately. They looked firebombing. There was this
fishing industry right up again, right?
Immediately. There's a pilot that went there from Russia, this ace, who wanted to see it. He was like, oh man, I got to check this out. And he got out there.
Yeah. Alexander de Seversky. And he was a Russian pilot. He had been wounded and stuff. He was now working with the American military, and he was assigned to do this. This was his job. And he had surveyed not only in Japan, but also Dresden and all these other places. He had already seen the devastation of St. Petersburg, and he'd seen from the sky, he was a pilot, the devastation of all these other firebombed, carpet-bombed cities, and there were 62 other cities in Japan that had also been firebombed. So he'd already seen those. He'd already done his analysis and everything. So they said he was excited. He said he was pumped to go see this new devastation. What is this going to look like with this atomic bomb? And what's the cities should be, there should be a bolt spot. There should be a center point. There should be a hypocenter. Everything goes out from there. That should be obvious. It should be different. And he flew over Nagasaki and Hiroshima. He spent 3 days, in Hiroshima. He walked around, never saw those shadows, those nuclear shadow things that are so...
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's page 42 or 43, Brandon,
so
in her book.
It is. I've got it right here.
Yeah, so we, to just close the thread on mustard gas, we can circle back to anything, but, that's not something I want to show photos of because it's too gross.
Oh, yeah.
But when people our age, we were shown all of these horrible pictures of radiation afflicted, birth defects allegedly, and all this stuff from Japan as the way to convince you that, yeah, these nukes really happened. You get shown this nasty stuff in like history class or social studies class, they called it when we were kids.
Yeah.
And what I never knew before this book was and you are perfectly qualified to explain this to us, is that the few people that exhibited these kind of symptoms, those symptoms are 100% identical to mustard gas blistering agent symptoms. So if people want to explore that more fully in Tamara's book, that's
Look
in
at the
there.
napalm, stuff from Vietnam when they used it later. And you can still see the sloughing of the skin, everything that they were describing. And one real quick, Crow 777 had a granddaughter, a daughter. She was, her mother and grandmother had gone through, I think it was Nagasaki, and they lived through it. One of them was thrown against the wall. So there was a blast. Okay, given that, but she ended up having children. They ended up living late into the mother just died. I mean, like just a few years ago, and so the granddaughter was the one on the show with Crow, and she was just explaining, where they were and what happened, and people were afraid to try and have children, and no problems. I mean, they didn't have any long term, and also the acute radiation symptoms people got later. They'd come to help with the cleanup afterwards. And then they got sick. So something like if you get a sunburn, you're getting that sun radiation immediately. It doesn't linger. You don't go into the house and then later go, oh gosh, like a week later, oh, I've got a sunburn from being out on the, at the beach a week ago. It is not a delayed effect. And then people thousands of miles away or kilometers, whatever they called it there, also got acute radiation sickness, which wouldn't make any sense if it's a local, one time, one-off thing. So.
Well, what do you think is going on with that?
That was plutonium only comes from nuclear reactors, man-made. So it's a byproduct of uranium during the process of so the decay process. So it only so when in Hiroshima they found plutonium radiation in the soil, which it shouldn't have been, because that should have been obviously uranium. So they found plutonium there, which is odd. And then that only comes from a nuclear power plant, a facility only. So if it was there, they think it either may have been, that was another thing that was so good about Dr. Michael Palmer, is it either could have been like a dirty bomb type thing where it was released from the planes. They said they heard a lot of like the B-29s flying overhead, and it could have been released, with that. That was also with the napalm. There was a black gooey substance, and napalm, it's gooey, sticks to the skin and sticks to, and that lasts a long time. So the difference, my understanding with the radiation would be a one and done. That would have been a blast, that would have been it. And then for all this stuff to be lingering and for last so long, brings into question that validity.
So it looks like there was intentionally a sprinkling of this radioactive material, plutonium, to make it look like there was a radiation effect in the area, but that doesn't check out to the science.
And also there was just a tiny little bit. It wasn't, you'd think if there was supposedly this big nuclear, there would be tons of half-life, thousands of years half-life uranium that you wouldn't be able to live there today, and then there was just such a small amount in the soil, and it wasn't the right fuel. It wasn't the fuel that they used supposedly for little boy in Hiroshima. So none of it, the math doesn't math again. When you start looking into it, you can just see how we pull the string, whatever, and it just starts to unravel so quickly.
And you have to ask too, if they're willing to allegedly drop a nuclear bomb on these people, but also there's this clear evidence of napalm and mustard gas. What other poisoning of the well would they be willing to do to enforce the believability of this story, right? So there's potentially, when we talk about people having problems down the line, and someone hearing that might be like, well, doesn't that just prove that there was radiation then if the problems persisted for a while and people kept getting symptoms from it? And I would say no. That does not prove anything, especially when you start to pull the thread of like, well, what is a nuclear chain reaction? What is nuclear fission? How is this actually working according to their model? And why does the Fat Man bomb smashing together two hunks of uranium somehow create this nuclear chain reaction explosion?
Yeah,
because that's the thing that's kept obscured, is like, how do nukes actually work? And for most of my life, I thought Well, there's no way to find that out. And that information is not allowed to be online, because if you knew it, then you might try to build one.
Yeah.
It turns out I was just wrong about that. And how it actually works is not information that can be kept from people. And the fact that there are all these people that work in nuclear related fields, they have to understand what nuclear fission is if they're going to tinker with the technology, improve power plants, keep power plants online. And so the thing that makes nuclear power plants work is not the same as making an explosion. And we'll have to try to do our best to illuminate folks on that, because that's what I learned that was most consequential for me in the book was like, what is fission and why does that not explode?
And it releases 94% is heat, and then 6% is radiation when you have fission. So when you have
but isn't radiation just heat and light?
That's it, emitting heat and light. Yeah. So and then when they have had 2 accidental, actual accidents, real accidents, and both of them, it was when they were they call the demon core, and it's this little 3.5 pound little 14 pound little 3.5 inch diameter little thing they were working with Los Alamos, and there were 2 accidents and 2 people died. That's it. And then one of them, it has to be. This gets in the whole thing about if it's.
Can you tell me about these accidents? I don't know these stories.
Yep. Okay, so it is in Los Alamos. One guy, this is in right in August 21st of 45, and this guy was alone. He was not supposed to be doing this alone, but he was using a tungsten, bricks things. The present I got from my husband, and it drives me crazy. Stupid clock.
It's a cuckoo clock? Guys, It's 11 a.m. Cuckoo for not believing in nukes.
Yeah.
That's your cuckoo clock.
So the first one was an accident where he dropped a brick on it. It closed. So the biggest thing with the difference between a nuclear power plant, the facility, is that it is a controlled environment. It's a shielded environment. They are. Sorry about that. They are. It's moderate. It's slowed down. So when the my husband's laughing. When they the fission is when the nucleus splits into 2 different elements, and then it releases 2 fast neutrons, and those 2 fast neutrons they can go find other uranium nuclei, which is a challenge in itself. That's a whole big thing. But when they do get a chain reaction going, they have to slow down. It has to be moderated. You have to slow down. These fast neutrons are going 20,000 kilometers per second. You have to slow them down 10,000 times to 2,000 kilometers per second, which is still 8 times the speed of sound. So they're slowing them down to be able to be absorbed by another uranium nucleus in an atom. So then for that to split, there are like so many different reasons that might not happen. It's not guaranteed. So that's one process thing. But when they do get a chain reaction going, it's in a controlled environment. It's when it's shielded. It's when it's moderated, when they're slowed down. It's when it's cooled, so they're not racing around really hot. So there are all these factors that go into a nuclear facility, and where it's controlled. And it takes so long. The heat, the fusion, when you're talking about when they get into fusion bombs, so there's a 2 parts. So if the fission doesn't work, I didn't even cover the fusion part because that's so stupid. Compressing solid 2.5 times. A solid's already a solid. How are you going to, it's just like the concepts are just so stupid. But but in a facility, a nuclear reactor facility plant, it is controlled. They can slow them down. They do have the time to heat it up to get the heat going, and so then they can control it. And then, what was the question? The facility.
I was just curious about this accident that you had mentioned at Los Alamos. Like, what actually happened?
So when it did, the first one, the brick hit. The second one was when they had it. They had a shim. So there's like a top and a bottom, and when it's open, it's released. So all the little neutrons can fly away. All the neutrons are free to go when during the reaction. They can go away. But when it's controlled, that's when it builds up the heat. That's when they can heat up the nuclear power plants. That's when there's a steam that's coming out. That's just steam. It's boiling water. That's all that's doing the power plants. And I keep losing my train of thought. Sorry. So the accident. So then they had these shims. this guy, he was using a screwdriver. Instead, it collapsed. So the point is that it closed off. So it didn't have a release. There's subcritical, there's critical, and supercritical. So subcritical is when there's not enough for a chain reaction. There's not enough neutrons looking for the nucleus of the uranium to do the chain reaction, exponential, sustained. When you get to critical, that's when it's self-sustained and it's running itself. It's like nice and smooth. It's like Goldilocks, it's just perfect. And then when you got supercritical, that's when it overheats. 3 Mile Island, it overheated. It didn't explode. Chernobyl, Fukushima, they didn't explode. The only explosion were the hydrogen gas. That's the only possibility. Hydrogen gas, again, a gas. It's not the metal that is exploding. So for the accidents, there were 2 people who died. Each one of them happened to block. One was blocking a security guard who was in the hallway. So the person who was close to the demon core, he got a lethal dose. 10 gray is lethal dose. And he died within like 9 days or something like that. The other guy lived for another 30 years. In the second incident, that was in, I think it was March of 96. It was later, and Fermi and those guys had told him, just quit screwing around and everything. And he was using a screwdriver. The 2 parts collapsed. So then you've got the shielded, controlled area and it caused a blue flash, a blue light. No explosion, anything like that. So the guy who was right there, Slotin, was right there, and the other guy was like Daglian was the first one, and so Slotin, and there's a picture of the 2 of them working on this stuff before the accident. So then with Slotin, he was using a screwdriver instead of the shims. It collapsed. It caused the blue light. He got the lethal radiation dose. Close proximity, like Owen Benjamin was saying about the 5G towers, right? That it's when you're in close proximity, yes, it can be deadly. One had a security guard and the other one had other people with him. And the other one lived like 19 years, but he died of hereditary problems, so like his family issues, something like that. Had nothing to do with the radiation. So even that was the fact too, full circle, back to Galen Windsor, he would do these tours showing these uranium, plutonium pellets. He'd drink the water, he'd swim in the pools, and he proved that it's not as deadly as a bottle of NoDoz is way more dangerous than this little. And he would put it like behind his back, and that little Geiger counter, the little clicking thing, it would stop. He would put it in the jar, and it would be a little light little taps and stuff. So it's not as scary. It takes away the fear, the chem-bioterrorism, all that stuff, taking away the fear, the nuclear stuff, just taking away the fear. Yeah. And yeah.
So if I'm putting this in a nutshell correctly, say I have a microwave and I put it on high for 5 minutes and then it stops. And then I open the microwave and I stick my head in there and it's pretty warm in there, but I'm not receiving a lethal dose of radiation, right? There's no lingering residual magic poison that's just hanging out because of this microwave radiation that is now affecting me when whatever the origin of that radiation is no longer occurring as a technological effect or a chain reaction. So these guys that had these accidents, something occurred where you could say metaphorically, it's like they got caught inside the microwave while it was on, which would be like basically you got melted. There's nothing really woo-woo or mystical about it. It's just like radiation is heat, and intense or a lethal dose of radiation is like rays of energy and heat that were so strong that they cooked you or they did something, irreparably damaging to your biology.
And that's what they do
once
for
I open the microwave door and the microwave's no longer running, that there is no invisible poisonous waves of energy that then permeate my house and linger and continue affecting the space, right? Is that a good way to analogize it?
They still, but like the soil samples still did test positive, for radiation. It was the wrong fuel. It was the wrong radiation for what the bombs they said they used, but it did test positive. So, and the radiation was found down, where.
Well, that's like the microwave is still a little hot on the inside. Like the air in the microwave is still warm, right? There's still lingering radiation, but it is no longer like there's 1,000 degrees is going to kill me. 50 degrees is not going to hurt me, right? So lingering radiation just means, it's still a little warm there, right? But it's not like it's no longer in any way dangerous or lethal. That's the point I'm trying to make.
And
When
I
the
think
microwave is
also,
off.
like Galen Windsor holding the pellets, that was not the problem. It's when they did the fission where it released the fast neutrons. That's the release of the heat and the 6% radiation. And when they did have it, and they did do it, because it's in nanoseconds, it's in microseconds. I mean, it's super fast. So when they did collapse and they did have the accident, and it did have that blue flash, that was a critical, exponential chain reaction, boom, right then. So it did affect him, but his body...
He was in the microwave while it was on.
Yes,
basically.
and he blocked the guy behind him. So, and the guy that got 0.08 grays, he got 8 rad, and that was it. So, so the intensity right then, right there is bad. Like the same thing, like the what is it? What were we just talking about? Just towers, the 5G towers.
Yeah.
The right there is really bad. Or like in back to Tokyo for the subway attack, that it was like, if you touch the liquid, it's really bad for you. But everybody else who was around, and the cleanup crew, I think they were affected too when they touched it. But everybody else, they just thought, oh my gosh, I was in this situation, and there was an attack, and it was a serum nerve agent, and like you said, the nerve gas. And people are like, oh, it's everywhere. It's in the air. Oh, I'm breathing, and I'm going to die. So, they flooded the hospital. And the hospital were completely overwhelmed just because people thought it was nerve gas, but it was the liquid, and only people who were affected were the ones who touched it. So again, it's just that localized, tiny, like you were saying, if you're in the microwave, you're fried, that's it. But if you're, outside and you've got shielding and protection, all that, so then you're relatively
And
okay.
it doesn't hang around after it's stopped. That's
that was
the
the point. Yeah,
part.
that's what I liked about the sunburn analogy. That it's like when you're in the sun and you're frying, you're burning, but like a week later, you're not going to all of a sudden get a sunburn from a delayed thing. So,
the sun does not create uninhabitable zones of permanent radiation after it's gone down. Like it was 120 degrees in Texas today, and now it's nighttime, but somehow it's still dangerous while I walk around and the sun is gone, but I'm still getting sunburns. That's what, metaphorically, you could consider this idea of like lingering radiation for half-life of thousands and thousands of years. But okay, so we're at the point where we're going to transition to the plus side of the conversation for folks. And one thing we went through really fast, and I want to slow down and give it some serious articulation for the plus members, is this nuclear fission. What are you talking about when we talk about splitting uranium neutrons by shooting, or nuclei by shooting neutrons at them? But at this point too, let's go ahead and give some thoughts to wrap up for the the barnacles, as you call them over on MU, the people that we love that listen for free.
Right.
And don't know how great it is to support podcasts that you love. And maybe today's the day. But Brandon, we haven't heard from you for a little bit. If you have closing thoughts or additional thoughts on what we've talked about up to this point.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and plug the extension, actually, because nuclear shadows, we're going to get into that. We've also got to get into the underwater explosions, how one of them had a mushroom cloud, the other two didn't, which we will also need to get into mushroom clouds and how you can't have that because of the conditions, and we'll get into it. But
the colors of the mushroom clouds matter too. Yeah.
Right. And what you're actually seeing, as well as damage that was allegedly on these Bikini Atoll islands and stuff like that,
or
as
not.
well as she's got a wonderful, or not, or lack thereof. And then she's got an awesome golfing metaphor for exactly the question that you had there, Chance. And I know that she probably had that queued up. And as well, I'm going to plug the book again. She has these wonderful fruit metaphors in here that will show you exactly that you can't get a strawberry out of 2 blueberries, and that there are impossibilities with the math if you take it out of their world. And that's the whole
you don't
point.
Get another blueberry out of a blueberry. That was the thing, right?
There you go. And she pulls it out of their world that seems unattainable for those folks who are just asking questions, don't have PhDs and things like that. We don't need to be a subscriber exactly to get it and to know what's going on, or that there's at least a thread to tug on for yourself here. And the overwhelming amount of things that she's gone over here has just been spectacular. So we'll go into that, as well as some of the psyops. Here's one that I'll show, because she just does an awesome job on this too. This is a volcano. And then this is a physics book claiming that the most common occurrence of such thing is in nuclear explosions that don't exist. And then she has this beautiful emoji that she shows us along with it. So there's a lot of personality in the work as well. I've got to commend her on.
A lot of personality.
Tons of it, man. So there's that bit, but yeah, man, just thank you, Chance, for doing this, dude. You're
Thank
such a
you.
delight, man. I really appreciate this. Like, what an honor. What a great dude. You guys go support this guy, honestly. As a guy who knows what this is and what it's all about, this man's heart and soul is in it. He is the real deal. You can tell because you can tell by the way he is. Go support this man.
And
It's
there's so
very
much more because each time I listen to to your show, I'm on the YouTube Plus. I've got that extension, and so I always listen to the second part because it's kind of like that's when they get into the nitty
the
gritty.
extensions where we cut loose, man, and that's where we, just start fart jokes, and it's just a back room. It's more fun. It's why you listen to podcasts in the beginning, and so you've sampled this. It's been nice. Go ahead and subscribe and sign up, support, get into that value exchange because that's a new way forward. And the other thing, if you've got a Netflix and not a Chance Plus membership, then InnerVerse Plus membership, then just think about the differentiation there. He's enlightening you with truth that's empowering for you to free yourself. Netflix is owned by Edward Bernays' nephew, who's the father of propaganda for the Nazis. So let's just kind of let's look at where our value goes, is one of the great allocations that I did whenever I was looking at where my energy went, which is what the equivalent of that is. And so investing in value exchange of something that you're already getting value out of is what we all recommend here, guys, is the mature next step. So come join us because we still have tons to cover on this, and especially breaking down some of the obvious shit. Let's get some of the obvious stuff because then you're going to watch these movies again and you're going to go, holy shit. Tam, after we did the episode release, Mary and I had something on and it had a whole nuclear narrative to it. And I'm just like, bullshit. Like all of it was just so dumb and so Hollywood. But you can see it just like deciding that the weapon that they have on the Death Star is an actual threat to your life. Like, think about that, guys, because the Death Star running around up there, Darth Vader's not sitting there with his finger on a button. It's just as practical for that to occur in your life as what these, and it's not even good acting. It's like they're not even good at it. It's just a shitty script with some boring narratives with a lot of holes in it. And once it's put under the actual microscope, it's discovered, which, I mean, Chance, your work and mine also reflect that might be the whole game here anyway, is that it is put in a place to where you once recognized, you can't unsee it. And then you get a wink from the universe saying, well done, you've solved the puzzle, move on.
Yeah, you got to ask yourself the question, how come all these people that don't believe in a globe or in nukes, this is always a one-way conversion with a few exceptions where there's clearly something really fishy going on with a particular public figure, probably you guys know who I'm talking about fairly recently. But Brandon, we got to plug what you're doing and your beautiful buddy, Joe, over at mysteriousuniverse.org, opening people's fart chakras, revealing incredible and buried paranormal and parapsychological stories that you've never heard of, and just having a real good time doing it. Still my favorite podcast, even with the host switch up. Maybe it's, now that there's also the Inescapable pod with the old guard, it's just like I've doubled the amount of podcasts I listen to, because before it was just I only listened to MU. I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts as a podcast host except that one. So thanks for keeping me entertained with that. And can you let them know your website and how they can support you and to get more of your work, Tamara?
Oh, thank you. And thank you for your patience. I love doing the background, the research, everything. Brandon is my front man. He's awesome. And he put all my ideas into the right words. So when he did the MU episode, he just nailed it. And I was listening and I was just beaming. I was just so happy that all the information that I compiled, he took and shared it. And I was just so happy. So my mouth gets a little tongue-tied. So thanks for your patience. But I appreciate you. Thank you, Brandon, for kind of supporting me and being here with me and being awesome.
Yeah, girl. I love your face.
Sometimes people like yourself are more their intellectual, their thinking speed is far faster than what a mouth can do.
Exactly.
We can just feel how immersed you are in this subject and how stoked you are on it too, which is pretty cool.
This and one more thing.
Yeah, and we love it, and that's why me and Brandon are here to just help distill your wisdom for the audience and translate sometimes, and that's just what hosts are good for. So
this is the most valuable sticky note. Is it backwards on the screen?
Nope.
Okay. Well, Oh, is it? Okay. Well, this is the most valuable thing I've ever put in front of I have this one and then the one that the wife put on my screen as well. Just tell me to have fun and then I'm sexy.
Oh, those
These
look
are
like those Iranian planes on the airport.
Yeah, I have a little airplane clip she gave me too, which I like. But slow down. That's what this reads. And it's something that, I mean, this is a musician as well. We would get on stage as a live band and man, that energy gets amped up. You start getting through a 3-minute song in a minute and a half and you're like, oh shit.
No, that's why you need a drummer to keep your pace.
Right. And well, my drummer actually was one I was like going, slow down. I mean, he was awesome because we were all pumped. But yeah, it's just that energy and it's wonderfully articulated. And I will say also before we go to the after thing that mysteriousuniverse.org, you guys go check it out for sure. Shout out Joe Hodgson. I love his fucking face. He is just the coolest partner to work with. I would not imagine doing this with anybody else. He's the reason that we're doing this. And yeah, just like you, man, we didn't want to see him go either, dude, because I've been listening to him for a long time. And it's one of those synchronicities that whenever I heard him for the first time, I go, man, me and that guy are going to be friends. I was talking about Ben. And I just go, me and that guy are going to be friends. This is 7 years before I ever, he even knew who I was, right? And I was was a Plus member, same thing, just loved him, loved their approach. They gave us a lot of permission to ask the kind of questions that we do and to take the light approach with this and not be overwhelmed by the Archangel Michael stories and Nuke stories and call bullshit on this stuff, And those dudes are pioneers. They're continuing it with their legacy with Inescapable, which you can still get actually. And I highly recommend you do this, if not just for Mysterious Universe, because we're banging it in the Plus shit. Like we are doing here. That's where we really unwind. So you get both shows for one subscription if you do it now through April 14th. So go ahead and sign up. You get both shows, and then that shuts down after that. And it's going to be here before you know it on account of the realms changing and the quickening and all that. We all experience it. But also my final point is that you don't have to be bogged down in the labels of the no nukes camp, the flat earth camp, the this camp, the that camp. The divide of it is the labels. And so my favorite label that I've ever acquired that applies to any of this, that maybe you as well, I can offer it to y'all as well, is critical thinker, guys. Yeah. We can just look at topics unemotionally, not say, because even saying that you're religious has so many connotations to, okay, well, which one? What flavor of religious ice cream are you, right? That's a label. And labels come with belief systems and expectations and all of that. So if we just maybe remove all of that presupposition to any attachment to camp and look at it like, man, we're just free agent critical thinkers. And we're solving this amazing escape room realm that we're in, one piece of information at a time with the information we have at the time. And we're perfection in that. And that's a beautiful thing. And so critical thinkers, go forth, create deliberately. Yep. And I love you all.
Just, and for critical thinking, there's another one, Death Object, Akio Nakatami. I talked about this one. So if people want to look for themselves and read, because I did all this research, so if it doesn't, these are good books, fun books. There's another one, Fake Aliens.
And Kim's book linked down in the show notes, and she linked all of those books in this one book. So actually, all the works that she's talking about, she links in this one. You can get a one-stop shop. Get your own tabs. See if you guys go through the same things, found the same fun things in it that I did. And just thanks, Chance. You're a fucking legend, man. Really, truly. Guys, go sign up. We got more to talk about.
Thanks, guys. All right, off to part 2. Man, what a fun episode this has been. I can't believe how fortunate I am that I got not just Tamara, but Brandon in the same show. Unbelievable. I'm super stoked about it. And if you want to check out what we get into in part 2, all you got to do is go over to patreon.com/InnerVerse or Substack. Those are going to be linked in the show notes. Also, for people that like to stay on YouTube, there is a YouTube channel membership option. All of it, regardless of where you go, is going to be an $8 a month subscription. I think YouTube is a little more because they take a bigger cut. Either way, get the Plus extension. Find out exactly how nuclear fusion works, nuclear fission. This mystifying science is actually not all that complicated. And although we were going fast and having fun in part 1 and maybe didn't break things down in the methodical way that the book is able to do, in part 2, we're screen sharing stuff from the book and we are getting to the core concept in a way that anybody's going to be able to comprehend. And you're no longer going to be afraid of nuclear bombs because you will realize just how literally impossible, even by the rules of particle physics, if that's even how particles behave, or even if there are such a thing as particles. We didn't even go there. But by their own rule book, there's no way that you should be able to make an explosion out of shooting neutrons at nuclei, regardless of the kind of matter that you're using, uranium-235 or whatever. And as you know, the whole thing is obviously a big fear factory. And that should be the clue right there that it's not real. Now, in part 2, aside from getting into the mechanics of nuclear fission, we also talk about some of the other hilariously stupid things that were used to try to convince people in the propaganda about nuclear bombs, especially the shadows on the wall, shadows on the ground of those poor vaporized children. They were just jumping rope and then a flash and a bang and they're nothing anymore, just atoms in the wind. It's very silly. I mean, the whole situation was sad because it was not like people weren't murdered, of course, but all in the name of convincing the world that the new god, which is government, was able to destroy the world at the press of a button. That is retarded. So if you want to get that, jump on, support the podcast, get in the show notes, the description, find the link to one of these platforms. I personally think Substack is the best platform. It just gels. The whole thing just flows better. It's more of a social media than Patreon in a good way, with a lot of cool people on there to interact with. So I'd love to see your support. I think that the content is more than worth the small price of admission. Also, in part 2, we had the ultimate the ultimate rebuttal to nuclear bombs at the end, which had to do with examining just how many alleged nukes have been set off in the world since they were invented. I asked, the man on the street question with anybody that I might bring this topic up to, how many nukes do you think have been blown up since they were invented? And they're like, I don't know, a few dozen. Try over 2,000, allegedly. It's so silly. I think Brandon and Tamara are some beautiful folks. I look forward to future collaborations with both of them. You should definitely get some of Tamara's books linked in the show notes, her website, for her amazing poetical research books. I mean, I've never ever seen somebody do both of those things in one composition. It's just not easy. So blessings on her. I think that even kind of proves it's not ChatGPT, right? In the modern world, all the new books are like 75% are ChatGPT. And whenever you write it in poetry, I think that just rules it out, because these chatbots are not creative enough to come up with poetry. They can rhyme, they can meter, but it's nonsense, right? And also check out Mysterious Universe. I'm not kidding when I say it's my favorite podcast, apart from my own, but I have loved that show for like 12 years, and I am actually loving it more than ever now that there's new hosts. The old hosts, which I also love, they still have a thing they're doing, and it's really good. It's called Inescapable. And I've been catching up on that now that I'm caught up on MU. Brandon and Joe over there are just awesome guys, and I love getting to be friends with the people that make my favorite show. That's kind of why I got into podcasting in the first place. Like, man, that's an interesting book. I'd like to talk to the author, right? It's a good job if you can get it. But in terms of being a job, it's only a job if you guys support me for what I'm doing. So one more time, just throwing it out there. If you've never supported the show before, there is so much stuff in the archive that you can only unlock by becoming a Plus member, including some solo shows I've been doing called Inner Circle, where it's just me and a topic that I want to discuss with the members. So there's a lot of stuff you can only get by being a supporter. Also, there are other ways to support the show. You can go to tippecanoeherbs.com, get yourself some plant medicine from the wonderful wizard Kyle Denton, using InnerVerse as your coupon code for a 10% discount. I get a nice little kickback from that. He knows that I sent you, and that is the best herbal medicine on the planet. You can also learn to trade like a wizard. I'm actually very delighted to see how many of the audience have signed up for Brandon Sterling's class about business trading and like financial trading, the mechanics of how that works and how to do it for yourself in the long term. The stuff that is gatekept by the big dogs, if you will. Brandon Sterling, another legendary Brandon, he's got a school course up there on SKOOL. And if you use my link, I get a very generous percentage of your enrollment. So you're supporting me and Brandon, almost halvesies, which is really, really generous. And a lot of people have been signing up for that, and I'm noticing they're staying signed up. So there must be some value that they find that they're getting out of that enrollment. Also, we've got Lotus Way. There's a link to Lotus Way. Get some flower essence, elixirs, and other types of nice alchemically infused homeopathic, but also nice smelling, I don't even want to call them medicines. They're like anointing relics. They're very, very good. I use those all the time too. And so with that, I'm going to get out of here. Oh yeah, but don't forget, biofield tuning. And also I do oracle card counseling, oracle cards where we're, I call it that because we're mixing up I Ching and tarot and maybe a couple other things. And if you want to get a one-on-one conversation with me, but you don't want to get tuned, you could always do a card session and, make it whatever you want for that hour plus cards. All of the things are going to be linked in the show description, and I appreciate all of you guys who are supporting, helping support my family and myself, doing the work that I love. And with that, we will get out of here. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Much love. Bye-bye.